Hi, I'm Britt Miller. We have breaking news out of Capitol Hill this morning. The Senate has unanimously approved a partial funding bill for the Department of Homeland Security. This happening just shortly after 2 a.m. this morning. Now, if this passes in the House and is then signed by the president, thousands of TSA workers all across the country will start to get paid again, which, of course, will hopefully ease those lines you can see on your screen. And we know many Americans have been feeling that stress of having to wait in the airport for hours over the course of the last couple of weeks. We're going to go right now live to MS Now congressional reporter Michael Schnell, who's there in D.C. Michael, you were here for this vote. Tell us what happened and also break down what happens next.
Yeah, Britt, I'm still here in the Capitol right now. I was here overnight covering this Senate vote, which puts into motion a process that could lead to the end of this partial government shutdown. First, get you up to speed what exactly is in this package. It would fund all of DHS except for ICE and except for parts of CBP, particularly the Border Patrol parts of CBP would not be funded, but Customs would still be funded. Now, this was just the Senate approving this, as you mentioned, by unanimous consent, and now has to go to the House for approval. It could get a little messy in the House. I spoke to Speaker Mike Johnson earlier yesterday, and I asked him what he thought about this proposal from Thune. The proposal at the time largely mirrored what the eventual deal was in the Senate. He wasn't happy about the fact that ICE funding and some of CBP funding was being split off from the entire DHS package. Whether he gets behind it, we'll have to see. I anticipate he will in the end, but still, there are some Republicans who weren't thrilled with the fact that ICE funding was going to be split off. And there are some Democrats who were not thrilled with the fact that the final package doesn't include any of those reforms that Democrats for months, since particularly the fatal shootings of Alex Preddy and Brene Good, they have been pushing for to change how ICE conducts its immigration crackdown. So it's certainly going to be a fascinating dynamic in the House if this package can squeak through the House, and we expect them to start considering it as early as today on Friday. Another wild card is how President Trump feels about it. He has sort of been back and forth all week about these negotiations for a DHS package. At first, he had told Leader Thune that he was against the proposal. Then some Senate then he had written on Truth Social and said that that Republicans should not cut a deal with Democrats until Democrats pass the Save America Act. Then some Republicans had said he was behind it. There had been this back and forth. And then on Tuesday, the president essentially said, I don't know that I'd be happy with any deal that Republicans were to cut. Now, I asked Leader Thune about this dynamic tonight, again, just after 2 a.m. after this bill passed. I said, do you believe President Trump would sign it into law? He said, I hope so. He never speaks for President Trump, but he understood where the conversations were going. So we're going to have to see how this continues to play out. Today, Friday, is day 42 of the government shutdown. I'll note, Britt, we are close to making history once again. 43 days was the length of that historic shutdown last year. So if this thing goes past Saturday, we could be in historic territory. Whether we get there remains to be seen. But again, the news here this morning, the Senate finally passing a bill to end this government shutdown.
And Michael, before I let you go, talk a little bit more about the realistic timeline of this making its way to the president's desk, because as we know, TSA agents will not have another paycheck for another Friday. And, you know, they're doing all that they can to sort of make ends meet, to survive. They're donating plasma. They're sleeping in their car. And this has been really stressful for so many TSA agents who have called out from work and who have actually quit their jobs. And, of course, Americans feeling the brunt of that and having to wait in line for hours, 3-4 hours just to get through security. So talk about how realistic it is for this to make it to the president's desk in time for TSA agents to get the money they need to survive.
Yeah, and Britt, on that note, I mean, these lines and these photos and images and videos that you're showing of airports were a key part in pushing lawmakers towards a deal. These images that have been coming out from airports across the country were placing increased pressure on lawmakers to come to some sort of resolution so TSA agents could get paid. Look, they would get back pay, but the concern was, and this was articulated by the deputy administrator of TSA on Capitol Hill this week, is that in the moment, these agents weren't able to pay their bills, upkeep their lives. They They were going through some real difficulties. That is what helped push lawmakers towards this deal. Now, I'll note President Trump did announce on Truth Social overnight that he was directing his newly minted DHS Secretary Markwayne Mullin to pay TSA agents, but there were questions about that, how exactly that would work, how quickly it would kick in. If this piece of legislation that the Senate passed tonight could get to President's desk quickly, that could just take that concern off the table and just pay these TSA agents. Now, to get to your question, how quickly could the House process this? The House can do it pretty quickly if all folks are on board. So we're expecting some movement when the House reconvenes later today, Friday morning. It is possible they can get it all done on Friday. They may need a little bit more time over the weekend. House Republican leaders sent out a memo to offices earlier on Thursday saying be prepared for potential votes on Friday and through the weekend. So we'll see how quickly they can process this, but realistically, they can do it on an expedited timeline.
Of course, we'll be watching and waiting to see what happens next. Michael Schnell, thank you so much for your time. And of course, keep us honest and up to date. That is the latest news from New York. We'll have much more, of course, on this breaking news story out of Washington, D.C., starting at 5 a.m. Eastern time on Way Too Early with Ali Vitale. And then, of course, at 6 a.m. Eastern with Morning Joe. I'm Brittany Miller. We're going to send it back to you right now to All In with Chris Hayes, which is already in progress. Thank you for joining us.